he goes on trips and stuff, so I think he's trying to slow down. My biological dad, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know how he lives his life.
That's fair.
You know, I wish him the best. I love him, but yeah, I couldn't answer that question.
I understand that feeling. I understand that.
But I mean, I don't feel bad about it, I guess. But it's just one of those things that I'm like, I honestly don't know if he's slowing down or not.
Right.
I think he has, but I don't know. And I don't know what his routines or what his beliefs in life are, or like what he lives his life for, or like what his intentions are. And that's okay. But I couldn't answer that question to where it's like, with my mom, I think my mom wants to slow down and doesn't know how. I also think that like there's a lot of things that make slowing down scary because of how expensive everything is.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I think that they do the best they can too, but I don't know if they get to all the time. And with my mom, I kind of sometimes don't think she knows how.
Right.
And I love her so much, but I don't think she knows how to slow down. But I think it's very, there's a very clear reason as to why she believes that she can't.
Right.
And some of it is very, like all of it's very valid.
Of course.
Some of it is belief system based. Some of it is, all of it's valid. Some of it is real life. Some of it, she might have some wiggle room.
Right.
So I should say all of it's real life. Some of it she might have some wiggle room, but she'd have to define that for herself. Because we might know of people's circumstances, but you're not that person, so you don't know really what it is to have those circumstances. And
right.
So that's kind of how I see it. But yeah, my perception from the outside, I don't know if she knows how, even if she had the time. I don't know if she would know how to slow down. And I see a lot of people that way. I used to work for people like that, you know, they would have the luxury, like, you get to go take a week vacation. And they'd be sitting there, like, looking at each other all anxious and wouldn't know what to do, didn't know how to not work.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. How do you leave the plantation? You know?
And it's interesting because, like, I don't know, my Nana, she was a lifelong career woman because she was a professor, and always, even in the summer when it was time off for school, she'd be doing professional development and she'd be doing stuff. But like, she was a person that really fascinated me, and I just was always so close to, because she always found ways to like stop and smell the flowers, to like go slow, even in the hustle and bustle, and to carve out those moments for her. And so like, that's what made a lot of the way she moved through the world magic for me, is like how she did that. And
That's
so
a talent.
I don't know. It is a talent. It is a talent. And so I remember when I felt so proud because I was like following in her footsteps, and she was, you know, she'd already like been taken. She was already gone. So like, I remember being like, I'm a teacher now. I'm following in her footsteps. Like, this feels great. But then also having that to my spirit, like her, of like, well, even though this is the expectation and there's this like always work and get better, grow. I always saw how like you can't grow if you're not, where's the nourishment? That's the magic, right? Like you got to stop and smell the flowers. And so I would like learn that from her, and I would like implement that into like the way I lived as a teacher. But then you would see the people, your colleagues, that like couldn't quite do it. And so like, I remember the head of school at the time was telling me how like he got this cool little retreat, and him and his wife went on it, and they were good people, you know, they were nice to me. Like I actually got to know them. Okay. They didn't like have the wall up, you know, like they let that wall down, and like I like got to know them as people.
Wow.
And he was just like telling me like, yeah, you know, we went on this retreat, and like we kind of didn't know what to do. Like we didn't know how to not work. So we were kind of driving each other crazy. And it just made me laugh, because I feel like that kind of came up. And in this way, we got to laugh and like, haha, like how cute, but you guys get to figure it out. But I think a lot of people that came up over the pandemic, they're just like, you're not allowed to work. You need to go sit your ass at home.
Right.
And people like didn't know how to be with themselves and didn't know how to be with their partners and didn't know who they were and didn't know how to just not work.
Right.
And I don't know, like for some people that was like a crisis time, and like it was already a crisis time because the illness, like because of COVID. But like for people who just didn't know how to work, that was its own crisis for them too. Of like, I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to stop. And I don't know, like I wish it wasn't for that circumstance. Like I wish it wasn't because of a global pandemic.
Yeah.
But I really wish as humanity we like would stop. Like just stop sometimes.
No,
like
man.
that it's okay.
We're on a train.
It's a runaway crazy train. I'm like,
that's exactly
why can't we hit some stations? Like, can we hit the station and maybe walk around, enjoy like a real slow lunch? Like, I don't know,
But
stop
like,
and smell the flowers somewhere.
Imagine trying to get on or off that train. It's going to hurt.
What you're talking about is real, right? It's going to hurt to try to catch it and get on, and it's going to hurt to hurl yourself off it. And I think there's a lot of examples of that too.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to get another one of these. You want one?
I didn't mean to be awkwardly looking around, but I was trying to sneak it and find where it was.
Nah,
I will join you.
The same flavor?
I think I want to try the one you have.
It's good. I liked it.
Unless that you wanted the same flavor, because if not, I'm totally down with this one. This was really.
Yeah, you got your tissue. Wipe away that time.
Yeah, you put me on. I'm gonna grab another tissue.
I got you. Cause I gotta get.
Because I'm up already. I'll grab one for you if you'd like one.
Well, I gotta get a This is about to die. So I'm about to get the charger.
I have a portable in my bag.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a great conversation, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks for having this conversation with me.
Of course, so.
It's really like, I don't know. Do you like how people find it hard to stop? Sometimes like the thing I find hard to stop is like it's hard for me to not care. Like there's people that I feel like they can compartmentalize their thinking enough to be like, oh, well, I could justify this or not care about this in this way. But I feel like if it's something that involves other people and like how they feel or their livelihood in a sense, like them being disadvantaged or I don't know, like sometimes it's hard for me to turn that off. Like the moral compass vibe.
I feel like, I'm the same. Here, I'm going to be real with you. I feel like I care too much. Excuse me. I feel like I care, at least that's the feeling I get when I see how folks are kind of like just callous to each other. Like I said, to me, when I look at people, when I look at the substance of an individual, to me, it's like, how they treat others and how they treat the people that quote unquote don't matter. Like, I see that. And you see it playing out in society every day. And I feel like we're becoming more and more callous to each other, and all of those dystopian, futuristic movies that we saw, like Elysium or what they call it, the one with Tom Cruise with the future crime business.
Minority Report.
Yeah, like we're going in this insane direction of individualism that leaves everyone vulnerable because there's no community, so there's no support structure, and it's like, if you're not, and if you want to be in a community, you have to be in a community that has beliefs that you may not think make sense. You know what I'm saying? Or you'll be a part of an organization that is part of the machine that is pulling us apart and creating individuals and destroying community because the strength of community is threatening to the status quo.
Yeah. When you said that, and salute. when you said that, it really brought up like instantly the thing that shot through my head is like, I want to know who you are without and outside of money. Like, yes, we need money. Yes, we need it to survive. Therefore, we have to produce something, or like there is an exchange. You get this in exchange for what you did in this way. I get that. But I want to know who people are outside of money. Like, not what you do for money, not how you get money, not how much money you have. Like, who are you outside of money? Like, let's pretend that didn't even exist. Who are you? What do you like to do? What drives your decision making? And like that to me tells me who a person is, and if I want to be around them or have them in my close circle, or in my world. And so, like, I guess there's like a lot of different ways that we can gauge that. But like you said, how you treat people who you in your mind or what society says doesn't matter. How do you treat them? Because that to me, like, that's outside of money. Or it tells you what you do value, how much you do value money, right, and how much money dictates what you value. And so, yeah, that's what it is for me.
That's why, for me, like, I don't think people that have money are bad people. And I don't, because for me, that's why I think that metric for me, how people treat the person, picking up the trash in the street, how they treat the person, taking their order at a fast food joint, how they treat, an unhoused person that is on the street.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how people treat the people that don't matter, it transcends money, because you have poor people that treat people terribly, and you have rich people that treat people terribly. So it's not even for me a money thing. Money is a different. It's another, in my opinion, it's another form of energy.
Mm-hmm.
The same way, water is energy. The same way air is energy. The same way, electricity is energy. You know what I'm saying? It's like people use it to move things around. It's a vehicle. You know what I'm saying? For better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it comes back to, like you said, the intention.
Yeah.
You can have all the money in the world, and if you have bad intentions, that just allows you to really put bad intentions out there.
Agreed.
That energy, because you have so much energy with this resource that you have, and you have all these bad intentions, you have all this energy now to be able to push your bad intentions out there. And the flip side of that is, if you have good intentions, you have all this energy to push your good intentions out. And sadly, in my opinion, rarely do the folks with good intentions have an opportunity to put things out. You know what I'm saying? I feel like empathy and those kinds of emotions are frowned upon in this society. People are so much more comfortable celebrating apathy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's,
yes,
you can separate yourself. You know what I'm saying? Empathy, you're gonna have to get dirty if you're emphatic. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to get dirty. You're gonna have to feel what they're feeling, and that's, people don't like getting dirty.
I couldn't agree more. I think the apathy, like, I see that in a lot of different ways. And I also like how you brought your idea full circle. So I agree with you in the sense that I don't think that everybody with a lot of money, like, I don't think all wealthy people are bad people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the level of wealth that exists out there, specifically with like billionaires. Um, I think that it takes certain types of actions and a certain type of moral compass and following a certain type of leadership that you couldn't ethically be a billionaire, because it requires you to devalue people, or to, because you cannot earn that much on your own. So therefore you are using the labor of other people somehow to have that. So you could not truly care about people and
Yeah.
earn that. So there's that. But at the same time, I don't think that all not every millionaire, like, oh, you're a terrible person because you're a millionaire, right?
Mm-mm.
But I do think that there is this apathy that is sold as luxury. Like, oh, when you're this rich, you're so disconnected. You're this apathetic. It's a luxury to be this apathetic. And this is what is keeping up with the Joneses. And so then you got poor people striving for that, thinking that that is what is success, or that's what is wealth.
Right.
And to me, that's so misleading. And so that's where it then comes back to, well, what your compass, what's guiding your compass, and all these different models of leadership that influence how people use their compass or what guides their compass. And so the models of leadership that have been normalized as what equates to success have become things that devalue people. And so we have to be very careful and intentional with what we set our compasses on, because at its base level, does it devalue and harm people? And honestly, when we look at that, generally, what do those people like? It's usually Black and brown or indigenous peoples. So we got to be very intentional. And so I don't know, like, there are certain levels of wealth that you could not be ethical or empathetic and achieve that level.
Right.
And you don't need to have that level of wealth and still be able to spread that positivity. And so, like, having the discernment, having the ability to see the bigger picture kind of thing, that's what brings it back for those people that do use that platform, do use what could be considered wealth in a positive way to positively affect change or help, or, do something in some positive way that isn't just for them and they're consuming and them having so much that on the other end, it's hurting somebody else that they have none, So I do agree with that, but I do think that the apathy being sold as like, oh, I'm so rich, I don't have to care. That is something that bothers me a lot. So then, then you'd start to see the character of people. Do you see people as people? Do you look at the people who are facing the public and having to be in these service positions? How do you treat them? How do you treat people who serve you? How do you treat people that have nothing to offer you?
Right.
How do you see houseless people? Because that's the other thing in my mind that I think I see it, and now we're living in a neo-colonial society. So even people that look like us, who might regurgitate these things that are white supremacist type actions, or these.
It's easy to put. It's more palatable when it has a face resembling ours on it.
But what is it like? That's where, like, I see people who, like, I'll see young people, I'll see people talking about the homeless people in a way that I'm like, you don't understand that this is the cost of capitalism.
Well,
like, they don't have to exist. They exist because that reinforces that if you don't do what they say, you'll be like them. And because you don't make enough money, now people think you're not shit and you deserve that life. And that's not the truth.
I get those arguments. People, when I have these conversations with folks about cities like Denver or Seattle or LA or New York with the unhoused situation, I'm very quick to remind them that, I agree. Folks are out here, and they need to be responsible for themselves. But, I think part of it is we're all in this together, and we are responsible for them as well. You know what I'm saying? But what I think is the real issue when it comes to the unhoused and to 90% of the ills of our society It's the priorities. So studies have been done where they said, and I'm just going to throw a number out there because I'm going off the top of my head and I've had some hard kombucha and other things. But let's say $80 billion to end homelessness in America. Okay. And how much are we spending to kill people around the world?
Thank you.
So you're saying we could have ended this if we wanted to. They're saying we don't have the money to end this, but we have the money to murder and to destroy. But we don't have the money to build. We don't even have the money to build the roads. We don't have the money to fix the schools. We don't have money for education. We don't have money for anything. We have money to kill.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And that's the message that's being sent from the top down. This is what the ruling class has decided is normal, right? Like that's what has been decided, and that's what we're seeing. And so then we have people that see this as an example and a model of leadership. So when they decide to shit on, their barista or treat people like crap, or, they might run a company that they're like not paying people equitably. So it's wage theft, but nobody acknowledges that as like a form of theft. They're like, but that's the way it's done. What do you mean? Like, This is how we do it. And it's like, that alone is just so it's a false scarcity when it comes to necessities, but then when it just comes to just wants and not your come up, then it's like, I don't know. I just think it's so bizarre. And I do see the hypocrisy. I do see the contradiction. And I think that that's also why, like, that reinforcement about productivity and caring about the bag and how much you can make, that's the huge distraction, so that you can easily devalue a person and not feel about a person and have apathy towards a human life.
That's that energy that came off the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. That's that same energy.
But that's why you got to be careful, because you'll go to your wellness class and you'll think that you're seeing a healer, and a conquistador is there telling you that you come from a place of lack. And that's a lie. Like, nah, you're coming from a place of lack because you literally had to steal and kill to get it.
Well, I mean, that's one thing, but it's even worse when you're actually going to your professional healer that is supposed to be there to save your life, and they're still looking at you in that way.
Yep.
Because now you're just another slab that I can figure out, okay, let's see, I'm going to make this much off of that and this much off of that. The medical outcome isn't as important as making sure that you do all the services that are going to maximize your return. And it's like that mentality is being, again, fundamentally, that's what came across, and that's what's still going, and it drives those decisions. And people don't see how it affects their everyday lives, like, and their loved ones, you know what I'm saying? Because of the apathy that exists through all levels. We have apathy at Starbucks or at the coffee shop, the barista, or we have apathy in government, but we also have apathy from the policy enforcers. We have apathy from the people that collect the taxes. We have apathy from the people that are supposed to save your life. You know what I'm saying? If you're dying, we have apathy from everyone is apathetic. Nobody gives a damn. And it's like, that's so celebrated. It's so cool to be apathetic. It's so cool to not care.
That's the side. That's the same. It's the different sides of the same coin. Like, you have to have that level of apathy. Like, oh, it's a luxury. It's so cool that you have this level of apathy. But then it's like, you also have to have that level of apathy to not care about the people that you're doing it to.
Right.
Because that's what it comes down to, is like, this isn't just numbers and statistics. These are people. This is living, breathing bodies. Like, they're all magic. Like, you can't replace them.
Right.
But it's being normalized that they don't matter.
Well, because we don't see ourselves in them. You know, we have an ocean of similarities and a glass of water of differences, but we focus on the glass of water. There's an ocean of things that connect us, that bind us together, that, you know, we all share in common. And there's maybe a glass of water of things that separate us, but that's what we focus on.
I find myself guilty sometimes. I find myself guilty of focusing on the glass at times. But I guess like what I'm telling myself is like that glass is full of poison. So there are, for me, at least the way I'm telling myself. And so this is where like, if this is like that slippery slope, you know, like you think it's a good intention, but it's a slippery slope to disaster. Like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, you know, that saying.
Right.
And so.
What does that even mean?
Well, because like how many times have like somebody like, oh, well, I thought I was trying to do this. Well, it didn't do that. Oh, well, like my intention was, I was trying, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to, I was trying, my intention was, well, miss, and a vast, horrible miss that this is the result, right? So even though your good intention paved your way to this action, it's a slippery slope to hell kind of thing. Right. And so I feel like this idea or this intention behind my thinking, in one way it could be this, but in some ways, like I feel like it's totally not. And I guess what I'm getting at is this: the sea of similarities versus that glass of differences. And I feel like I that radical talk where I get labeled a radical, or it's because sometimes I will draw a line. I will draw a line in the sand of like, you know what, this glass of difference, it's because your glass of what you're saying is different and I need to see it. It's like literal poison like that I won't drink from. I don't want to be a capitalist in this way. I don't want to have that level of apathy. And I think sometimes, a lot of times, like there becomes, and I think a lot of times it gets wrapped up into politics or people's justification of why it's allowed to treat people badly or why it's allowed to justify why these certain people don't matter. I won't drink from that glass. Like, to me, that difference isn't worth drinking from that glass. Like, if you're telling me that the difference, and this is not at all what you were saying. Yeah, I know this is not at all what you were saying. But I feel like I draw a line because like this came up for me recently where like I was going on this trip to have fun. But what I realized is like what we thought we were doing there was not the same thing. And what I saw people participating in was like a level of apathy I didn't want to participate in, or a level of still gentrifying a place that I don't want to participate in this way. And, you know, we can have the luxury or the privilege of being able to travel and not have to be gentrifiers or not have to do these same old things that like literally are a problem. And if you want to make excuses to do those things, that's cool. You could drink from that glass, but I'm not. And I think that like that sometimes becomes where a lot of conflict happens because people will tell you, oh, we'll just go along with it. And it's like, well, do you realize that by going along with it, I'm a part of the problem? I don't want to be a part of it. But by saying I don't want to be a part of the problem, you're now looking at me like a bigger problem than the problem. And that comes back to that apathy, because you have to have a level of apathy to think that not wanting to participate in the problem is bigger than the problem itself. And I think that comes back to people's moral compasses and what people accept as models of leadership. And yeah, that just will never work for me. Like, you cannot trick me like into perpetuating that for you. And when I say you, I don't mean you.
No.
Okay. So, but like the ruling class, you cannot whittle this down and change the language and rebrand this until I drink from your glass of apathy. I will fight you to not drink from that glass. And that's really the last thing I'm willing to fight and fight for. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of things worth hurting people for, that I gotta protect myself for.
You're not gonna be a stick in that river.
I won't be a stick in that river. You know, that river's polluted. There's a whole clean ass ocean over here, but you're trying to pollute the ocean.
Yeah.
Like it's real. It's real. And so I don't know, like it was one of those moments where I'm just like, these are people that think they're allies, that like think they're social justice and fighting and they're the ones arguing with me about why I should drink from the cup of apathy and just give in to that's the way it is. Or I'm a problem because I don't want to give in to the way that it is.
They have a different line.
And I can't cross that line.
No, I feel that. I agree with. I mean, I understand that, and I think that's. I think part of and maybe I'm too unbalanced, but part of it is part of having empathy is understanding that my line is not your line, and as much as I abhor the system and detest how it just consumes life, it's all run by people. You know what I'm saying? And these people are, again, they're not much different from either one of us, You could see them walking down the street. It's like regular people, you know what I'm saying? But, remember that, I think I sent a post to you a little while back where dude was saying, you have these people, nice looking people, clean hands, clean suits, walk into beautiful buildings, sit at a nice, beautiful table and comfortable chairs and plan the extermination of other people. Like, it doesn't get any more apathetic than that.
And those people are regarded in our society as success stories, as leaders.
Right.
And because they are intelligent, right? They've went through this level of school that shows that they have this rubric. They've met this rubric, and so they have this level of intelligence, and we should be like in awe of them.
Intelligence is a tool.
And they're using their tool to harm.
Right. So, it's like, if you're not intelligent to know that what you're doing can and will be done to you, then there's a lack of intelligence. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, many of these folks know that it can flip on them. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they go so hard to make sure it doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes I think that's how they justify it.
I mean, it's justification or not, you know what I'm saying? It's a belief. You know what I'm saying? It's they believe by maintaining a level of control and authority that shit ain't gonna get flipped on them because of all the fuckery that not they themselves have done, but the system that they are a part of and that they support and allowed to, how should I say this? A system that they help to maintain the status quo. They feel like they have to maintain that because if not, it's going to get flipped, and who knows what happens then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not realizing that the problem is the people that come and believe that everything belongs brings to them. Instead of saying, hey, you know what? I have my stuff, you have your stuff. If I like what you got, I need to figure out what I need to do to get it, as far as negotiate, work with you, work for you, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's kind of, to me, it's like, when I look at, and I'm going to make an analogy here, but like when I look at abusive couples, you know what I'm saying? Whoever's doing the abusing, at what point do you lose? At what point do you feel so inferior that you can no longer communicate your feelings or what you need through your words, and now you have to use your fists or use weapons to communicate to the person that you say that you love? Where does it break down? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point is it like, I can't find the words to express myself, whether it's pain, whether it's sadness, disappointment, whatever it is. Now I have to use violence to express myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's that level, because we live together. We all live together. So if one group is abusing another group, or if a group of people, say a government, say an organization, is abusing other people, it's like spousal abuse, because we all family. At what point is it like, all right, man, we can't talk no more. I'm just gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
Especially if that group is just saying, yo, we just want to be left alone. We just want to be left alone. No, you can't be left alone.
Yeah.
That's you know what I'm saying? Like Japan or like China. Like, these are famous stories. Like, Japan they didn't want nothing to do with nobody. They was like,
Wasn't Japan closed for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years?
Yeah, it was an isolationist society. They were like, yo, we good. We not asking you for nothing. We good. But no, the Americans are like, no, we want to trade with you, and you have to trade with us. And if you don't, we gonna bomb the shit out of you.
That's wild to me. Like, just the ideas of like, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes like people look at me like I'm so silly, but I'm just like, what we're talking about, like you're talking about at a base level war. How could you go to war? Like, how could you inflict harm on somebody in that way?
Just because they don't want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
They didn't do nothing to you.
Yeah.
They didn't attack you. They was like, no, we good. It's like unsolicited advances, for somebody on the street. And then because you don't want to fuck with them, they now want to commit violence against you. How is that any different? That is the analogy I'm trying to draw when I was mentioning domestic violence. And it's like,
I mean, in some ways, I feel like it's an American tradition. Like, what you're describing is an American tradition.
I mean, it's not just America. Britain did the same thing to China. That's how the Opium Wars came to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and these ideas we inherited from Britain, like, meaning America's values were inherited. Those were spitballs. The things they agreed with Britain, they carried over.
Right.
There was things that they like made their new ideas, but a lot of that was inherited or was regurgitated in their own way. And that was the model of leadership that they set their sails to. And so to me, it's no different. Like, everything you're talking about is exactly what they did to indigenous people here. Like, so many tribes, we're good. Leave us alone.
Right.
Can't leave them alone. Because you got resources that they want, right? And so I don't know, like, I think what you're talking about is literally an American tradition. Like, that is what defines America. The things that are positive and the things that become like the positive sides of American culture came from the people who rose from the ashes of that. Like, Because that's truly what American tradition is I will kill you and take what you have. Like, I will swallow it up because I want it. And whether you want to play ball or not, we're playing ball. Like, I don't, I, I don't know how else to describe that other than, to me, when I look at the history of this country, that's what the history of this country is. Like, so to me, hearing that that's what they did to Japan, I'm like, oh yeah, par for the course. Okay, so it's still the same America. It's still the same America. And I think that that like when we were talking about these ways of thinking, even the things that didn't come from America, but they're ideas that were adopted, and I guess I'll taste on this too and apply it to my palate. I like to cook this up too. Um, I, so many different things. It's like in my head, I'll be like, oh, your inner pilgrim is showing, or like, oh, your inner conquistador is showing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'll just be something sometimes in my head that I'll say to like calm myself down in a situation where I could see, oh, damn, this is happening right now in front of me. And like, this is what it is, you know? And sometimes that's just what I'll say in my head to like get through it. But to me, that's all it is. Like, that's an American tradition, unfortunately. And that's a side that if you say it out loud, oh, why are you speaking so ill? And you know how many people died so that we can have that, so you could be free? That'll be the things that are thrown in my face. But I'm like, I don't think that's worth the cost.
Yeah, but those people didn't die so we could be free. Those people died so that the people that were financing those conflicts could keep what they wanted to keep and get what they wanted to get.
Exactly. But see, we know that.
You know what I'm saying? It's fundamental. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's always been. You know what I mean?
But if you tell, like, I don't know. I just like, I had gone through this recently with a person where you're like, yeah, that's what that is. And this is how you break it down. And they're like, but that's just the way it is.
I mean,
but that doesn't have to be that way.
That's the way it is now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that it is because people came and said, this is how it's going to be going forward. But that's not how it was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it was it's like the concept of ownership and property.
That you can own land?
Yeah, like, I ain't build this. Did you build this? Nah, it was here when I got here. Like, so how can any of us really own it? You know what I mean? But it's a mentality. It's a concept of wanting to be in control. Wanting to control everything. You know what I'm saying? It's like people just like, I just want to be. I just want to be. I just want to be. They're like, nah, you can't.
You're not lying. I mean, so much of the river that run, like, I just remember when I realized like how much of the river that is like, you know, like Clear Creek, like Coors owns it pretty much. Like, how can a corporation own a river? How can I own a river? Like, I didn't make a river. How can you own a river?
It's called a piece of paper.
You know? And that's what money is. And that's what all this is. So, like, if we can make that up, why can't we make up something for us all that, like, doesn't require a bunch of suffering and murdering?
We could, but then that would be good for everybody and not great for the ones who already run shit.
But that, again, is why the living with intention. When we tell people, you realize that when we do this, you're following in the footsteps of the people that actively harm the world, right? And I have people fight me over that. Like, you got people arguing over that. And I'm like, I don't understand how we could cap this hard for something that doesn't even benefit us.
Because it benefits, they feel they're benefiting because of how they are treated in society. If they weren't being treated the way that they were being treated, which isn't the worst, then they would have a different opinion. But the fact that they are part of the status quo, it's kind of like how, you know, it's said that when certain Europeans came here, they weren't considered part of the white concept. And, you they didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't see themselves as part of the status quo. But once they were brought into the status quo, they didn't see themselves as anything else.
But who was I talking to about this recently? About there's like a lot of groups of people who weren't white when they got here, but were not black either. And so now they've been adopted into like, what is whiteness? But to be adopted into what is whiteness, you have to give up everything of what you came from, because whiteness is the absence of culture.
Well, then you know, to me, what I'm describing is white supremacy. It's this concept that everything that is belongs to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you're walking down the sidewalk and there's plenty of room for everybody. All you have to do is rearrange a little bit, maybe go single file. But for some reason, some people act as if that is somehow demeaning to share a resource like a sidewalk, to make space for other people to go by. It's, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's so basic. And that's what I'm saying. That energy is still here, and it still is, it's the driving force in society.
I feel like I don't know, I feel like my intention in life is for that to never be my driving force. I know what potential costs could come with that, but I think it's worth the cost for me personally. But I cannot be a part of that driving force. I cannot acquiesce. I cannot give in to the apathy. Like, I can't be apathetic and just, I can't do anything to change it. It is what it is. I might as well just participate too. I can't do that. I think there's a lot of ways that sometimes, like, I think back about before I realized what I know now. Like, I don't know, because like as an athlete, like, like there was like a time where like I wanted to put like USA basketball, and like just after, and I'm not saying it took as long as Trump to get here, because I was wide awake to it well before Trump got here, but to hear USA, just like hearing that doesn't, like, it's, and I hear it at the Olympics and stuff too, and like the intention behind Trump's crowd screaming it versus like people watching an Olympic basketball game, different intention.
Oh God, excuse me.
But the energy.
It finally got me.
It was trying to bubble up on me too. Yeah. I didn't know, because the mic. I'm like, it's about to be ASMR burp time.
Oh, okay, I'll just edit it out. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm just gonna let it run. But we have different mics, so I could drop my audio while that happens.
There you go. But I'm like hearing that chant of like USA, USA, like it's two different crowds with two different meanings, but it sounds the same. And if I was a person,
it different though?
No, but that's what I'm arguing. Is it? It's not. Because think about if we weren't indoctrinated into that, or I wasn't indoctrinated into the prestige of being an athlete, and wasn't in the innocent thinking of, it's like them cheering on my team, go number 4, or like whatever. Like there is no difference, and like that meaning is stinging, and like knowing what we've done around the world, like, and what our tax dollars contribute to, it doesn't have the same feeling to me. And like, there's no, like, I cannot, what is the difference between Trump's crowds shouting it and us hearing it at a basketball game? Like,
I mean, they're both sporting events.
No argument there. You're not lying. But it's just crazy to me. So, because I'm like, think about all the people that like have been harmed, like in this country and outside of this country, that don't, you are not included in what this dream is and what this flag stands for.
I mean, a lot of people are okay with that. A lot of people are just fine harming people. They're fine with it. They're okay with it. It's like, yeah. Because often they don't see those people as people. They're just objects. They're just things.
I can't even, like, that's the part of thinking I can't even wrap my head around. Like,
I mean,
what?
How else does one explain the things that happen and that are happening? You can't, unless the people that are doing it are not people.
No, it's people hurting people.
You know what I'm
People hurting
saying?
people, not seeing people as people.
Right.
But like I'm saying, as a person, why would you even want to do that to a non-person? Why would you even want to do that to an animal? Or an animal is a beautiful being of life. So like, why would you want to harm an animal? Why would you want to, like, how are animals different than us? How do we prioritize ourselves over animals? How are we not all collaborating on this globe and like trying to prioritize each other? Like,
well, I answered that question with how many animals are going extinct as we speak? How many animals have gone extinct? It's that energy, is the energy of exploitation and the energy of control, the energy of feeling inferior, so having to overcompensate by being extremely oppressive and brutal. It's that energy. Because the only other solution is to look at what is being done. And if you look at what is being done, then you can't help but look at what has been done. And then at that point, everything becomes a lie. And then what is the point of existence then? So,
but do you feel like, especially as people who were fed a lie about what America is to, you know, because like even James Baldwin talks about waking up from this lie of like realizing the day that he grew up watching Cowboys versus Indians and rooting for the cowboy, thinking that he's one of the cowboys, only to wake up and realize like that I'm not included in what that is.
The funny thing is, he was the cowboy.
Well, I mean, like, technically, we're born into this nation, so we all are, because that's what our tax dollars go to.
No, I say that to say that the original cowboys were black.
True. True.
But what we call cowboys and Indians is just oppressor and oppressed.
True. No, because he was using that as the analogy, but even that could get deeper because,
but
the
that's
original
what I'm
cowboys
saying.
were
It's
black.
like, just because we call them cowboys, we don't see them as oppressors. Even though by the very nature of them calling themselves cowboys is a form of oppression, and then by them doing what they're doing, decimating these people so they could take their resources under the guise of the name of the people that they were also oppressing. Like levels, yo.
Yeah.
It's like, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, yo, like how do you see people?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be able to answer because
There's no answer.
I don't understand how people couldn't see people as people, and it doesn't matter the time, as far as we go back in history or not. Like I couldn't imagine seeing another being, even if I had never seen like a pale person, like I don't know how they talk about like, oh, the pale people showed up or whatever. Like they knew they were still people.
Yeah.
Like they're people that look different from us, but they're people, right?
Mm.
I couldn't imagine seeing a person, whether they looked like me or not, and not seeing them as a person. Like, so where did that idea, like, where did that get laid first as this is what is normal? Where was that seed planted? Where and when did that inception happen? Because that's whose dream we're living in now. And how do we work ourselves out of this dream and wake up from this dream? Because
you call it a dream.
It's somebody's dream, but it ain't mine. It's not ours, but it's somebody's dream. It's the dream of the ruling class. Whose dream are we in anyways? Because it's not serving us. It's not serving most people.
I don't know if it's serving anybody really, but I mean, it's just you know, it's there's so much to unpack, yo. Like really,
truly. I like the way you said that too, because it is a lot of unpacking. Because it's like, well, what's underneath this? What's holding this up? What's in this bag?
And that's the thing, you know, the deeper you look, the crazier it all seems. You know what I'm saying? But like then you really, you start to understand it. But just because you understand it doesn't make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. I think it's really, it's like, you know what they say, when you start telling lies, you have to keep telling the lies to cover the lies. Yep. And it's like, how many lies have been told? And it's like, how can you start walking back all of those lies?
Yeah. And to walk back the lies, what sort of energy would that create in people?
I mean, you know, I think if that was to ever happen, I think everybody would receive it differently. I don't think there'd be one response. I think it depends on where you are and who you are. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's a lot of overlap in that might be unexpected and unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? And I think at the end of the day, that is truly the fear, is what will it do? How will people respond? You know what I'm saying? Because if you start telling the truth, if you start unpacking all the lies that had to be told to cover the lies, to cover the other lies, then it's kind of like when we was talking about religion, and it's like, then who am I?
It's funny because when you were talking about that, it was bringing it back to the religion point for me too, because it's like, no, I understand everything you're saying. It doesn't make sense. Right. I'm like, and you're trying to make me believe that it makes sense, and it just doesn't make sense. Right. And now you're mad at me that I don't want to buy whatever you're trying to sell me at this point. I don't know what the answer to that is, other than it coming back to what we were talking about of how can we collaborate in a space where we can give everybody their humanity and collaborate together without having to have the same belief systems, without having to have the same rules. And I think, I don't know, because I feel like a lot of what we're taught and what it's built upon is like, well, the one rule is get mine. It's individualism, but that's also what's harmful. So there has to be a shift in what we think of as like that. It can't be the get mine anymore. It has to be more collaborative. So I don't know, like how do you make that shift? How do we affect change on that greatest scale with so many billions of people on Earth? And we're talking about pockets of people in proximity to shared beliefs, but as we go around, that changes. And I don't know, like it is hard. But I think it comes back to like what I believe for me, I don't believe that you have to live that way too. So how do we get people to understand that, believe that, but then also live that? That like you can do what you need for you in a way that doesn't harm other people, and you don't have to see other people doing it the way you do it too, and they won't harm you.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is what we're doing right now. I think part of it is, the rooms we get into and the conversations we have around creativity and art and sharing ideas and creating beautiful things. I think that's a part of it. I think the challenge, because, everything is there's, nothing exists in a vacuum. Nothing exists in a void. So the counterpoint to that is, while we're doing that, while we're doing this, while we're talking about how to be creative and while we're being creative and making stuff, there are people with clean hands and nice suits that go into a nice building and sit around a nice table and are also talking and being creative and sharing ideas on how to exterminate other people. And that is the issue, because those people are always going to come together to think about how to undermine and destroy other people, even though we're here trying to build and trying to create and trying to make something beautiful for people to celebrate and feel good about and to think about. Now they have different goals, different intentions, and their creativity is funneled into how to amplify the effects of destruction. And that's the challenge. Like I don't know how we ever overcome that part of it. We can do what we're doing, which I think is positive, amazing, and beautiful, and will make positive change. But I don't think those people are ever going to stop what they're doing either.
How do we remove their platform, their influence? Because like those ideas could exist, right? But like if they don't have power,
well,
those realities don't get to play out.
Inherently, those are the people that crave power. The people that are coming together to create and to make beautiful things, they're not craving power. So that's why we don't have the power, because we're not craving it to the point where we're willing to destroy other people for it. You know what I'm saying? We're craving love, we're craving beauty, we're craving joy, we're craving laughter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it baffles me. Someone that can do that all day and then go home and genuinely be with their kids and with their family and feel whole in that space, knowing that every day they get up and go to plot the destruction of others. Like there's a disconnect there for me.
Yeah.
I think part of it is the belief that this work isn't somehow in service to their families. I guess by creating less competition for them. I don't know.
I'm like, I have to sit with that.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's not. I mean, you didn't do it, you know.
I mean, I'm
Like,
just telling you what I see.
I mean, it's just. I mean, I have to sit with it because it's like, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say, you know, because like you're not lying, you know, but because I still truly believe that though that is what the ruling class has decided is normal, and that's the greatest influence that's coming down this pipeline, I still believe people who don't want that outnumber the people who do.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like, how do we mobilize? Like, that's kind of where my mind goes. But sometimes it's not always about a solution. Sometimes it's sitting with what is so that you can gather it all and then the solution will come. And so just hearing that, I'm just like, oh my God, like,
Well, I mean, I think, with any problem, it's can't approach a solution until we're clear and honest about the problem.
yeah,
And, part of the problem, and I don't know if you want to call it a problem, but part of the reality is that the majority of people don't crave power. So it's hard to mobilize those people because there's power to the people. The people have the power. Everybody knows this, but nobody knows this. You know what I'm saying? The people have the power, but the people are kept divided and fractured so that they can never become powerful. You know what I'm saying? And most people don't crave power, only the few. And those are the people that get into positions to shape the direction of society because that's what they crave. It's like, I don't think anyone that wants to be, and I'm just going to say president or mayor or anyone, to me, anyone that wants to be a leader shouldn't be allowed to lead. I want reluctant leaders. I want leaders that don't want to lead, but have the heart and the conviction to lead because the people see the good in them.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But our elections aren't based on that. Our elections are based on popularity.
Yeah. And I think that's also skewed because of what we were talking about, how like what people value is so like what people like set their compasses to, that moral compass. And so what they're cheering on and what they see the good in is so vastly different.
Well, that's what they've been. That's the trajectory, and that's why I keep going back to the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. People have that because that is our trajectory. That is the train left the station
in 1492.
And it's like it's just been picking up speed. You know what I mean? And it's like the people that are on the train don't even realize they're on this train. Because it's going so fast, the outside is just a blur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now, because of technology, we're able to have have verifiable, almost instant information about what is happening everywhere all at once. It's like that movie. I don't know if you saw it, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I did. I liked it.
People didn't really get that flick, but most people aren't tuned in to really understand it, you know. But that's where we are as a society. Like, we're more aware than ever, yet things are not where we want them to be because many of us, it's too hard. It's too hard to look at what's happening. You know, it's too hard to think about. It's too hard to, because then you have to feel, and that just makes it hard.
That bothers me the most though, because that again comes back to the apathy. That is
Mm-hmm.
the how it's whispers in your ear and makes you think, oh, but it's just so much easier to do that. Like that's the apathy. And like I can't live in a fantasy land. Like
No.
I can't. And like I don't think I should. Like, and the people that do are they're sold out on the apathy because it hurts to feel. I don't know. I'd rather feel and it hurt than numb it, you know? And like, I don't know, I'm like that even with like sports. Like, I remember like being an athlete, like everybody, like, oh, you don't want to tear your ACL. And like, oh, it's all this like the pain of the injury, then the pain of the surgery, and then all the recovery. And like, when I tore my ACL and meniscus, it sucked. It hurt, but it wasn't like I couldn't function. You know what I mean? And then I knew I had surgery. And so I had my surgery and they were telling me like, get ahead of the pain, but you got to start firing your quad, and like telling me about get ahead of it, get ahead of it. And like, I remember like taking these meds, and like I told him I don't like taking meds. So he already like cut my dose in half, but like I can't have Percocet or like Vicodin just because the way it makes me feel. I don't like what it does. So I like with Percocet, it's almost like an allergy. So I'm not prescribed that. So I was given Dilaudid. And so Dilaudid's crazy strong. And they're like, get ahead of the pain. So then they're telling me I got to get ahead of the pain. But like the way I felt being on those drugs, like it sucked. But then when I stopped taking it, all that pain that I wasn't feeling, I felt. It was almost like I felt it all at once, you know? And I remember like, and I had only taken Dilaudid for 3 days. And that first day, that first day, I did not take the Dilaudid. All the pain I feel like from those first 3 days out of surgery, I felt it. And it hurt so bad I couldn't sleep. But I felt like if I had just not been taking those pills and was gradually like feeling my pain, like I probably would have been in a different place. So I don't know. Like for me, that was just like, I have to feel the pain, like to know that I'm getting better or how I'm healing or the rate in which I'm healing. And by numbing the pain, I set myself back. Like that's how I felt from that experience. And so for me, I think like it speaks to a lot of different things. And that's what, when you said that, I'm just like, no, we have to feel the pain. Like, or else how are we going to know how good the pleasure is? Like, we have to feel the pain, or else how are you going to know you're getting better?
I mean, you know, so I have a similar situation. I had knee surgery as well. And, and yo, so real talk, right? I had knee surgery. I was living in Harlem at the time. And I got hit by a car. So tore my knee, had surgery on it. And after the surgery, you know, I think similar to you, was like, I don't think I was on Percocet. And I was like, you know, I didn't really want to be on it like that. So I followed the dosage for like the first 2 days. And then I started tapering off like the third day, fourth day. And then, excuse me, I was on the phone talking to my boy. You know, I'm playing video games late up, and I'm like, yo, why do I feel my heartbeat in my knee, yo? Like, yo, what is going on? I'm like, yo, I'm gonna call you back. And I'm like, it just started throbbing like crazy. I'm like, what is going on? I'm worried. I think I have an infection because I hadn't stopped taking them completely. I just kind of had half my dose. And I'm like kind of freaking out. I'm like, yo, maybe I have an infection. Because the doctor's like, if it really starts hurting, you need to let us know it might be an infection. So that's what I'm thinking is happening. So I called 911 like, yo, I told them I just had surgery, I think I might have an infection. My knee is throbbing. I'm taking the meds, They get there, they show up. You see me, right? It's a man and a woman. I think the dude is about like 5'6", shorty's about 5'4". They looking at me like I live on a 5-floor walk up.
Oh man.
They looking at me like, nah, son, that ain't gonna happen today. You ain't taking me down these stairs, yo. They were like, so they started asking questions. I was telling them, yeah, I took what I was doing with the dosage. They're like, all right, this is what you gotta do. They put me in bed. They put a bucket next to the bed. It said take 3. They said, here, take 4. Yup. Like, whatever it was, they said take more. And they said for the next, it says you got to take 3 every 4 hours or every 6 hours. You're going to take 4 for the next 2 days. You know what I'm saying? And, yo, the first day I was out of it. Second day I was a little better. But the truth is, I cut my dose too soon. That's the truth. The truth is, if I had stayed on dose, I'd have been, and for the time, because I don't like taking meds either, so I'm thinking I'm going to cut my dose. But I wasn't trying to feel that pain right there, because I was like, yo, that shit feel a little crazy to me. Like, it feel like my leg about to fall the fuck off.
So you're saying there's an in-between and into this, like...
I'm saying that, you know, maybe my threshold for pain is a little bit low, because I felt that shit and I was like, I thought shit was going on. Like, I really thought I had an infection. Like, I had convinced myself, because I was still taking it. Like I said, I wasn't, if you were saying to take like 3, I was probably just taking 1.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, what happens is when you take it, it builds up in your system. So, you know, because I was surprised, like, man, I had knee surgery. My knee wasn't hurting at all. And they're like, the anesthesia, it's 3 days out, 4 days out. You just now wearing off from the anesthesia from the actual surgery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Those pills are there to kind of bridge the gap so you could build that up so that, you know, once that anesthesia from the surgery wears off, you have something else there to help you manage through that. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't like taking meds. So
did you feel like it had you out of it? Because mine had me so out of it. I was like, nodding.
You know, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? It's a real strong indica type shit, probably.
This was like my meds, like, and I don't know if I'm sensitive to meds, but like, because that's why I couldn't take the Percocet and the Vicodin, and so they had to give me something else. And I don't know, Dilaudid hit me hard. Like I was like, it would be like if we were sitting here talking, and then like I was nodding out on people.
I mean, you know, but I can't say I haven't done that. You know, from maybe too many drinks or too many anything else before. You know what I'm saying?
I've just never had that experience like that. Like, cause you know, like. I don't know. I've done stuff where I was a teenager who was being stupid and like was like, oh, I could drink more than you kind of games. And then you drink too much and like, you know, like, so I've had that experience, but this was like, I did not feel pain at all. And like, I would be thinking I was having a good time having a conversation and I would nod out and then I would wake back up and not know how much time had passed. I would not, and like, it just was very uncomfortable. And so to me...
It's disorienting.
Yeah, that disorientation made it to where I felt like I could not gauge where I was in my healing. And so I was probably 4 days out from surgery. And this was already like, because I had, by this point in time, I had already had surgery on my finger. I had surgery on my nose. I had surgery on my shoulder. So I had like multiple surgeries in my life at this point. And like, I had never had that sort of experience on the meds they gave me after.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I had 2 surgeries, the knee joint and a long time ago my foot. But yeah, both times, you know, yeah, I don't know. Like, I wasn't worried about getting hooked on them or nothing. I don't feel like that would have happened, but I appreciated them while I had the pain. I'm like, yo, yeah, I could ride through this. Even like coming out of surgery and under the anesthesia, and like I'm like coherent, but I'm not. I'm like, I totally understand why people are into this. Like, because it's like, I felt, so when I had surgery on my foot years ago, back in the 90s, I had this experience, and I'm not sure if it's real or not.
Sorry, this setup is already great. He said, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Yo, I was in the recovery room, had surgery. I'm in the recovery room. I'm at St. Luke's in Newburgh. I was living upstate New York at the time. And all I remember is I came out of surgery, and this sounds real funny, real weird, but the nurse was a white guy that was Jamaican. So he's, which is not a weird thing. It's not super weird, but to be in Newburgh, New York, it was a little weird because he heavy pot, yo, Bridget, da-da-da. I'm like.
And it was spot on?
Yeah. Like.
It was no Chet Hanks patois?
Nah.
It was some real.
Yeah, it was some real. And I'm there like, yo, Bridget, for real, yo, yeah, da-da-da. We talk, and I'm like, man. And then, after that interaction, like I passed back out, and then I woke up again. I was asked, there was another nurse, a sister, and I'm telling her about the other nurse, and she's like, I don't know who that is. Yo, I ain't never seen. I'm like, nah, you messing with me, right? I'm like, you're not gonna miss a white Jamaican dude in Newburgh, New York. Like, you're just not, in the same hospital as you. So I was like, I don't know if I made that up or not.
I mean,
I don't know, because it felt real.
I believe you. That's all I'm going to say.
Too,
I believe you.
But it was just, I couldn't corroborate it. Because I think I'd asked somebody else to, I'm like, you're not going to miss that. You're not going to miss a nurse in a hospital in upstate New York that is blonde hair, blue-eyed, street speaking hard patois. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to miss that. You know what I'm saying? You're going, oh, yeah, that's Joe or whatever. Like, you're going to know who that is. You know what I'm saying?
Because they would have, like, because she was your nurse and he was your nurse, that meant that they would have worked on the same floor,
right.
on the same team. So,
right.
that is bizarre. I still believe you.
I believe me, too.
That's all I know.
So, either she was messing with me or, he's what we like to call a duppy. A ghost.
I was like a spirit?
Yeah, or a hallucination. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but that was the first time I ever had surgery. That was my experience. I remember too, like going in and, I was kind of like trying to think about, all right, how's anesthesia working? Talking to the anesthesiologist, and when I'm laying on the thing, getting ready to go. I was like, so what's it supposed to feel like? He's like, feels like getting hit with a very soft pillow. And as he said that, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he timed it perfectly.
I was like, is he going to be like this?
Yeah. He's like, it's like getting hit with a very soft pillow. But then I woke up in the middle of my surgery. Oh, no. That always happens to me. It happened to me twice.
Did you feel everything or did you just wake up?
No, I didn't feel nothing.
Okay, good.
I didn't feel nothing, but it's bugged out. It's happened to me both times I had surgery. I woke up in the middle of my surgeries.
I've only woken, as far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
I've only woken up in one, and it was the first time I had shoulder surgery.
Did you feel it?
So yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that the way I perceived this experience was that I woke up and thought people were saying something to me, and I was trying to respond to them, but I kept like not being able to, because
did you have the thing in you?
Well, I did, but I perceived it as I need to cough, like, I gotta cough because I'm trying to say something and I'm trying to cough, but I can't say it because I gotta cough. And that's the experience that I was having. And as I went to like cough in my mind, what I experienced was I'm going to cough, and somebody literally threw my arm. And so I remember being like, what the fuck was that for? Like, I remember, because I was like, I gotta cough. Like, I remember like, I'm having this, like, I gotta cough. And then somebody throws my shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then, like, I keep trying to cough, but I keep getting my hand tossed. And so then when I come to, they're like, yeah, you ripped your breathing tube out. Like, they said that I, like, ripped it out. And that's why they kept throwing my hand. And they're like, so if your throat is sore tomorrow, you did that. And I was just like,
so you were intubated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been intubated. Like, I just had the little mask is what I had.
I was intubated, and they said I ripped it out of my throat, and I didn't even know.
I'm wondering, like, what that feels like, because it sounds so uncomfortable.
You won't even know that it's happening to you. Like, that's honestly why anesthesia and surgery, all that stuff, it trips me out, because you won't even know it's happening to you. Like, I didn't, they told me I was going to have surgery. I didn't know they had to I didn't know they were going to do that. And they did. And now I know that's a part of shoulder and knee surgery.
But they didn't, when I had knee surgery, they didn't do it. I wasn't intubated.
What did you tear in your knee?
Well, it was meniscus and patella.
Then it maybe probably comes down to your doctor.
They did it orthoscopically.
Same, yeah. I had an orthoscopic meniscus and ACL repair.
Yeah.
And then I had the one where I actually ripped it out. It was a labrum, a Bankart tear. It was a Bankart repair. I don't. It makes me wonder if it comes down to like insurance stuff, because like
I don't know.
When it comes to medical stuff,
you never know.
You never know.
You
and
never know.
that's what I was wondering, is like, whose insurance said this was necessary versus that wasn't necessary. And at that time that I was getting that surgery, I was still a college athlete. And so I don't know if that's why they intubated me or not. Like, what?
But I feel like that's more expensive.
So that's what I mean, is like the type of insurance that I had was that's more expensive. So they're thinking they're pulling out all the stuff. Because when I got my tooth removed, they did not intubate me, and that was something they said that they could, but I didn't. I did not. That wasn't their first option. They're like, no, we just give you laughing gas. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, typically for oral, it's laughing gas, or you could do local. So this is an implant, and I had the option to do laughing gas or to do just local, which is when they numb you up locally. And I went for the local because the anesthesia was like another like $800. And I was like, nah, I'm good. Y'all just juice me up good. You know what I'm saying? And they poked me up. They stuck me like 8 times, made sure I was good.
That
enough.
shit hurts. Getting it in the gum.
After the first 2, you don't really feel it anymore.
Those first 2 hurt though. Because the same thing when I almost lost my finger, they had to take the anesthesia, they had to numb me up, the local.
Yeah.
And they stuck it in between my fingers, and that hurt worse than getting my finger crushed. Like, my finger got crushed so bad I didn't feel it anymore. So that's why, like, them sticking the needle in between my fingers hurt worse than the injury. And so, like, I had to get this tooth removed, and they were like, oh, yeah, you don't even need laughing gas. We'll just numb you up. And I was like, what? No, you're going to stick that thing in me? So then I had to pay a little bit more to have the laughing gas.
I mean, I was fascinated by it because, like, you know, I get to see the whole procedure, and he's, like, telling me what he's doing while he's doing it, and you could feel the pressure. And, like, I didn't feel pain. I just felt pressure.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But it was like, wow, it's crazy, the whole thing, you know. But, yeah, when I woke up in my surgery, I legit woke up. I was talking to the doctors. Like, I was like, yo, because I was under the influence. My anesthesiologist was actually my dad's doctor, like his primary. So when I woke up out of him, like, hey, man, you know, my dad's always talking about you. You're a great guy, you know. Say how you always take care of him, man. And, you know, that's really awesome. That, like, I was talking mad trash, you know what I'm saying? But I remember waking up in the surgery, and the same thing again when I had knee surgery. I woke up and they were playing like 50 Cent and shit because I'm in the Bronx. I went to a surgery place in the Bronx to get it done, and my doctor was this young Haitian dude, cool dude.
Hear the music.
Yeah, I knew it. I was like, yo, y'all playing my shit, and they was like, oh, give that nigga some more juice. Put him back out. He waking up.
Did it comfort you though to be like, hey, at least like my surgery staff, like I'm in good hands.
They were bumping it, you know what I'm saying? Because when I went in, it was all quiet, and so when the surgery's popping, they didn't play music because they working. It's like doing construction. They working.
He said a soft pillow, and then you wake up and they're like getting it. See, the experiences I've had, they'll be like, you're going to look over at that screen and count down from 10. And then you just look and you think it's something's going to, I'm like, what's going to be on the screen? Nothing.
No, you just out.
You out. Yeah, if I woke up and my staff was bumping some good music, I think I'd be like, okay, yeah, send me back.
So
I feel I'm in good hands.
Something I want to ask. When did you realize, at what point did you realize I want to do music? Like, what was that moment where you're like, you know what? I want to do this.
I feel like it was kind of in two parts. So the first part, the awakening part was, or the first awakening was, my family is like a bunch of singers. Like I grew up singing with my mom, with my nana, with my auntie, my cousin Kirsten. Like we sang, and just for fun, we would just sit around and sing. So I always knew that I loved to sing and that it was fun to sing, and it was something that my family did. But then I had a cousin who 12 years older than me, so like he was cool, man. He was like, I looked up to him. He was doing rap. And so I would hang out with him a lot because we kind of looked up to each other in different ways. Like I looked up to him. I thought he was so cool. He was doing music. Like he was just like, he could do no harm at that point in my life. Like, and he looked up to me because like I was a little girl playing football and I was a middle linebacker and a running back and like I could play. Like I was good at sports. And so we like looked up to each other in that way. But he would do music and he had a group of friends that like before it was a common practice that people built out their own studios and invested in their own way and then became the producer, the engineer, and had a team with them, and they were doing that. And so like I remember around the corner from like our family house, he had a friend named John, and he would go over to John's house, and like John would slowly build out, and they would all invest, like would slowly build out to where they had a home studio. And so I would just go sit with him in the home studio and like listen to beats all day and like see them doing their own thing. And so I knew that he knew I could sing. And so there'd be times that I would like try to hop in the booth, and I remember feeling intimidated by being in the booth, like that first feeling of like, I got this on my ears and like what I think I hear versus what I hear recorded and played back to me, and then trying to find how to perfect that and like how to be in control of your voice and in control of the outcome, knowing what you're doing, right? And so like, I remember being like, okay, like there's a clear difference from what I think I'm hearing and what my result is. So how do I perfect this? But then there was a lot of like feeling nervous and not feeling fully confident in myself because I'm like 14, 15, 16 and they're like grown. And it was all dudes. It wasn't really girls. So then it was like the things that I care about and that I'm saying about in my teenage years is definitely not stuff that grown men were caring about. So we were coming from different perspectives. And so there was never anything that they were like, oh, you better get in there. I'm about to rap over this shit. And like, we're riding on this. Like, it was like, oh, you're good. Keep working. Or like, you're good, like, but we're doing this.
Right.
So there was that. And then I remember when I was playing basketball, you're always around other people. So we'd be traveling around through like middle school, high school, you'd be traveling around and everybody would put on their CD and stuff and we'd be singing. And like, I remember when like, oh, like I can actually sing like what I'm hearing. So I'm like, okay, like, and people want me to sing for them. Oh, Selena, you should sing this, kind of thing. So So then I remember like, okay, like I could do music. But then I remember talking shit. So there would be, I'd hear whatever was the new popular thing. And like I'd hear new music and I'd be like, man, that sucks. And blah, blah. And I just remember kind of talking shit. And it's like, okay, but like, are you making it? Like you're talking shit, but what are you making? So I remember having that realization of like, okay, I could talk as much shit as I want, but that doesn't make me an artist.
Right.
What have I made? Not shit. So, and what the fuck am I talking about? What have I done? This person actually has something out in the world. I haven't done that. So that's where it really was like turning the corner of like, am I just going to be a shit talking critic or am I going to be an actual artist? Like, am I just going to be a shit talking critic of like, oh, well, I can emulate. Oh, I can mimic. Oh yeah, I could sing something that's already been done and I could sing it like them or better. That's okay, cool. But what did you create? Nothing. So that's when I feel like I really became an artist. And I would say, like, I guess my whole life I've been an artist or a singer. But when I became a real artist was like in between, like after my Nana died. When my Nana got killed, that put a lot of things in perspective for me as to like how quickly it could be gone. And you think you have time and you think you have these plans and you don't know. So you got to do what you can while you can.
Right.
And so that started to put perspective. Well, what do I want to do? And do I want to sit up talking shit about other people's creations? Nah, I want to be a creator. And then in doing that, I started talking shit about my own creations and like, okay, well, now I'm refining. But that turning that corner of like an observer, a consumer, to a skeptical shit-talking critic to the realization of, oh, I'm not shit. I'm not even putting anything out. So how can I talk a shit about somebody who's actually doing something? They actually have the courage to do it. You're not even in the arena, so shut the fuck up talking about them. So when I made that realization, then I started just like recording stuff on my Mac. Like,
dope.
Just like, and they were the worst scratch tracks because there's no mixing. It's literally just singing over a track.
It's like GarageBand or something, right?
Like one of those first garage bands. Yeah. And so then I started hopping on Twitter and trying to reach out to other people who were doing that. And then that was like when SoundCloud was new. So then like I started like making friends on SoundCloud and then it started getting bigger and bigger. And then I got a job teaching. And then it was like, oh, well, I got to prioritize this. And then it's like, well, I'm not
Gotta
even...
be an adult.
Yeah. And then I wasn't making anything anymore.
Right.
But then I'm trying to tell kids, follow your dreams, do this. But I wasn't. So how can I speak from a place I've never been? How can I tell them where to go when I've never been? So then I was like, well, now I got to do this. So here we are.
I feel that. Is there an artist that you're like, that kind of helped you, you know, aside from your cousins, that kind of, you heard them, you're like, man, I want to make music like that.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like every artist has been like an awakening in my mind at different times. I feel like there are several artists that have awakened me. I'd say currently, because it's a few different artists, but I'd say currently like a person that inspires me and lets me know the things that I dream about like are real. Like, because sometimes when we dream, there's no other examples, and you're dreaming and you're not even sure if this can be done. You go out and you prove to yourself and the world that it can be done. But then there's sometimes that people that leave breadcrumbs behind, and it's not the same dream as yours, but they're letting you know, like, hey, this is in existence. Your dream is
possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And so right now that person for me has been Chaz Bundick. Chaz Bundick is the mind behind what is Toro y Moi. And Toro y Moi, I love his music. Like, I love what Chaz is doing musically. But he also he does design. So he does graphic design, and he also designs like different garments, and well, I should say just different textiles in general, because like he's made bags, he's made like tapestries that fit a whole wall, blankets, shirts, pants, like all sorts of things he's made. And then sometimes it's just graphic design and it's like a visual piece of art. But before I understood different things that companies fund, or how they could fund genocides, or how they could harm people, before I was awakened to that stuff, like I wanted to be a Nike sponsored artist. I wanted to be an artist that is an athletic artist, like was once an athlete, but is now an artistic creator, a musician specifically. And I want to create like cute, sexy clothes, but that are made for athletic bodies, and like they're stylish, but they're also athletic. And I wanted to have like a line out that I'm designing this and like for other athletic artists. Because when I came out of sports, I felt like there was just so many clothes that just like, oh, like in my mind, it was going to be cute, but then I put it on my body and it's like not made for an athlete. Like, and I'm not a big bodied person, but it's just, and that's a whole other thing. Like there needs to be clothes for all body types. Like, and that would be another thing that I would want to do within that initiative. But like, if that's something I'm dealing with, so many people are dealing with this. Right. And the inequities within that, if like I just want to express myself and look cute, and I put this on, and it was never made with me in mind.
Right.
And so like I wanted to make clothes with that in mind. Right. And so Chaz did that. Chaz had a line from Nike. Like he designed a line, and then his graphic designs and his visual designs were so strong that they hired him to go out and do interior designing in different Nike headquarters across the world. Like they had him in London.
I gotta look him up.
He's dope. Like I'll show you his stuff, but
yeah,
he's a person that like he's just existing. He doesn't even know I exist, but the fact that I know he exists is inspiring to me, because he's left behind these breadcrumbs that let me know what I want to do can be done.
Well, I would say he doesn't know, or he hasn't realized you exist yet, but he will.
Dope. Because I think he's cool. And I think what he does, like, it's important, and like this world needs it. And
absolutely.
He's not the only person, but he's somebody that I feel like is doing something that I aspire to do, and he's doing it, and it's in his own way. But man, like it can be done, you know? And then I'd say like just the different amount of artists that open my mind of like, you can make sound that bends people's minds, like that makes me feel like I'm on drugs, and like I'm not on drugs. Or like when I got experimental and got to try some drugs, I'm like, damn, that music hits harder. That music is so much better, you know? Like,
well, you know what Bob Marley said?
One thing about music:
when the music hits, you feel no pain.
So hit me with music.
Right.
Hit me with music all the time. Yeah. And Bob's definitely been one of those people for me. Like, I remember driving. I remember the first time I got like enough money that I could buy a car that I could go to the mountains and like hit off-roading trails with. And I remember putting on Bob, and he was like, "Life is your right." And I remember like fully I heard that song so much. I grew up in a house. We listened to Bob. My Nana loved Bob. My Nana got to meet Bob Marley.
Wow.
And like,
wow, that would be incredible.
I just like, so that meeting and what it impacted on her. So she's like, no, we love Bob. So I've heard this song so many times, but driving through and understanding like life is your right. Get up, stand up for your right. Life is your right. And I remember being out there being like, oh, he sung this the whole time. This song's older than me. It's my right. It's my right. Like, oh, and just being like, oh my God. And it's such a simple message. And like, I just remember being like, okay, thanks, Bob. Like, and I've heard it so many times, and I'm out there just like, man.
Yeah, to be in that place, in that frame of mind, to hear it that way.
And it hits so sweet. It always makes me shed a tear. because it's so real. Like, so many things in this world are telling us that, like, we don't have a right to be here, that we don't deserve our life, that we don't deserve to exist. And that's something they can never take from us.
Right.
And it's our right to stand up in it. It's our right to stand up in it and be alive and exist fully.
Life wants to live.
And that's our right. And so, like, I just remember being like, damn, like, and this is such a simple, sweet message, and it hit so hard. So I have so many different artists and times in my life that I feel like we're going to have a whole other episode talking about those moments.
Oh, yeah, shit.
I had countless moments of how music hit me so sweetly and let me know I wasn't alone, and what I want in life is real and can be realized, and it's important to fight for it and go for it.
I agree. That's beautiful. I mean, I know I could keep talking forever, and I don't know. I don't want to hold you, and we could keep going.
What time is it even?
I don't know. It's 9.
Like, you got me to shed a tear.
It's 20 to 10.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I was supposed to go meet Nello. He's probably calling me.
We've been talking for almost 4 hours.
That's beautiful.
This is what I wanted. I just want to have conversations. You know, nothing, no agenda, just let's talk about whatever. And then wherever it goes is where it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I can't wait to share this, and I can't wait for us to do it again.
Amen to that. Same. I feel that.